You might think that living off the grid is just a story from movies or remote areas. But what you are about to see will completely change your perception of America. From towns with no electricity, running water, or internet, hidden deep in the mountains, to places with only a single remaining resident, or communities where hundreds of people live crammed together under one roof. These places exist in the same world we live in, yet few realize they operate completely apart from modern life. And the surprising part? They're not just remote towns. They are real, functioning communities that continue to survive and even thrive, thanks to a way of life you'd never expect. In today's video, we'll take you on a journey to the 10 most remote towns in America, places you won't believe still exist, where people live entirely removed from the hustle of cities and the grip of technology. Ready for an unbelievable adventure? Let's dive in. Can you imagine a town where all the residents live together in one building? It sounds unbelievable, but that is the reality in Whittier, Alaska, the only town in the US where the entire community lives together in a single building, which the residents here refer to as a town under one roof.
People think it's weird.
Yeah, it is known as the weirdest city in Alaska.
Yeah.
But is it?
It really isn't.
If I had one word, I would say it's magical.
Whittier is a different story. Surrounded by majestic mountains, this town is not a place for those seeking comfort or connection with the outside world. With only about 263 residents, all living under a 14-story roof, where all activities from studying to shopping take place in small rooms, without the spaciousness or conveniences we see in big cities. The roads into Whittier are often frozen throughout the long winter, and you can only enter and exit the town via a single bridge, or in emergencies, by plane. And when it snows, life and time here seem to freeze along with the weather. But is this an easy life? No. Life in Whittier is challenging, and not everyone can survive. No supermarkets, no convenience stores. Everything has to be done by themselves. The residents here cultivate their own crops, hunt for their own food, and live a life very different from what we usually see out there. This makes many people wonder, why do they choose to live here, in a place where everything seems so scarce? Perhaps it's because here they find the freedom and peaceful that modern life has taken away. They find connection not through smartphones, but through evenings gathered around the fireplace, through short but meaningful conversations with neighbors living under one roof. What we call the fast pace of life no longer exists in Whittier. Here, life flows slowly, and moments become more precious than ever. The people of Whittier may not have many conveniences, but they have something that many out there are lacking: peace. So, is Whittier a choice for those who want to find themselves? Or is it just a reaction to escape the inevitable changes of society? When looking back, will we regret not stopping, slowing down, and finding peace in a place like Whittier? This question perhaps does not have a right or wrong answer. Each of us will have a unique response, and only we ourselves truly understand what is most important. In your imagination, what would a real ghost town in the world look like? The dusty, deserted roads, the cracked brick walls under the scorching sun, and the desolate cemetery where the tombstones lean due to the desert winds. Sounds like a fictional setting straight out of a Hollywood horror movie. But no, this place is completely real, and it's called Tingua. This place is one of the rare, living ghost towns in the United States, located in Texas. But Tingua is not merely a relic of decay. It is a living paradox, existing in an incredibly strange way and unlike any other place in the world. More than a century ago, Tingua was the largest mercury mining center in Texas. Hundreds of workers, engineers, families came here, built houses, opened stores, and established schools. The town became a very lively, prosperous, and proud place. But then the mercury market collapsed. The mines had to close, causing life here to gradually decline. Today, the abandoned buildings and ancient cemeteries still remain, like silent witnesses of a bygone golden era and the inevitable decline. So what keeps Tingua from completely disappearing? Strangely enough, it is precisely the isolation and desolation that have become the attraction. Near Big Bend National Park, one of the most spectacular and wild nature reserves in the United States, Tingua attracts those who want to escape modern society. Artists, writers, photographers, and even those who don't want to be found. Every November, the entire town comes alive for a few short days with the Chili Cook-Off Festival, one of the most famous chili cooking festivals in the United States. Thousands of people drive for hours to Tingua to enjoy the spicy chili, drink local beer, and share strange stories under the starry sky. But daily life here is far from easy. There are no nearby hospitals, nor any shopping malls or familiar Walmart supermarkets. The internet is so weak that you can completely lose contact with the outside world. Even scarier, in the summer, temperatures often exceed 100 degrees Fahrenheit. A simple trip to the nearest supermarket can take 2 to 3 hours of driving. In a place where tap water is a luxury, many people have to rely on rainwater for their daily needs. Job opportunities are so scarce that the residents here primarily make a living through simple trades, selling handicrafts, guiding lost tourists into the desert, or working part-time at the only small bar that opens on weekends. Nevertheless, Tingua still exists, not thanks to large investments, but thanks to the resilience of its residents. Perhaps to outsiders, Tingua is a remote and somewhat inhospitable place, a town with no future. But for the people living here, it is a community. Though small, everything they give to each other is genuine. A slow pace of life, but not artificial. A shattered past, but still warm enough to retain those who dare to live authentically in an increasingly hurried world. And if a place once marked as dead on the map can still live in its own way, then perhaps what is called collapse is merely the definition of those who do not understand that some things remain beautiful in their ruins. Have you ever dreamed of a place where there are no social rules, no supervision, and no limits that we have to follow every day? A place where freedom is not just an ideal, but a reality, where people live as they wish, and no one is forced to follow any mold. Slab City, California, is one such place. Located deep in the tropical desert of California, completely isolated from bustling cities, Slab City is where you will find people who choose a lifestyle that does not adhere to the usual regulations of modern society.
You can retreat, and you can retreat, and you can retreat, and then there's just one last little knot on the end of the rope. That's Slab City.
No government, no laws, and no control from any authority. Slab City is likened to an ideal refuge for those marginalized by society. Here, they live a comfortable life, building a unique society with their own rules and principles. But does this absolute freedom truly bring happiness? Surely Slab City is not a place for everyone. Summer in Slab City can be very harsh, with temperatures reaching up to 48 degrees Celsius. Not only the weather, but living in this town, you will also face loneliness, infrastructure difficulties, and the risk of lacking basic necessities. No electricity, no air conditioning, no grocery stores. Life here is truly a challenge for those who are not accustomed to such extreme self-sufficiency. So why do some people choose to live here? Why do they give up the conveniences of modern society, the amenities that we consider essential in our daily lives? Perhaps the answer lies in freedom. Slab City is a place where those weary of urban life can find liberation. For these people, freedom is not just a choice, but an essential need. A place where they can truly be themselves without worrying about social pressures, work, or responsibilities. Is this an escape or a true search for freedom? Or simply Is this the choice of those who cannot integrate into the fast-paced urban life, seeking a place where they can breathe, where they can find themselves? Slab City may not be the ideal place for everyone, as it comes with isolation, anxiety, and unavoidable sacrifices. However, for the residents living here, that is the price they are willing to pay to live the way they want, and they are willing to make sacrifices to achieve that. Can you imagine a place where you can only reach by mule or helicopter, with no highways, no other means of transportation except footsteps on the ground, where life continues just as it did a century ago? Supai, Arizona, is one of those strange and remote places. Supai is not an ordinary town. It is located deep within the Grand Canyon, in a remote area, separated from the bustling world of big cities. To reach Supai, you cannot drive, take a train, or use a regular airplane. The journey into Supai requires you to ride a mule through narrow dirt paths. Or if you want to be quick, you will have to use a helicopter to cross the deep and treacherous canyons. This town is not just a place to live. Supai is a part of history. The residents of the Havasupai tribe, one of the oldest Native American communities in the United States. Havasupai means people of the blue-green water, and indeed, Supai is like a secluded oasis, with its refreshing blue waterfalls, crystal clear lakes, and dense trees growing along the river. For the residents of Supai, that is the most beautiful part of life. They choose peace and freedom, a life not pushed around by the rules and conveniences of the outside world. They don't have to worry about bills to pay, the rising cost of goods, or work-related concerns. Instead, they enjoy moments of tranquility, living a slow-paced life where each moment is cherished and fully experienced. So, is life in Supai a retreat from modern society? Is this a life too isolated, incompatible with the rapidly developing world out there? Or is it simply another choice? A choice to live close to nature, to reconnect with the true essence of humanity, and to find peace amidst difficult challenges. If you think that a town must have at least a few hundred, even thousands of people to survive, then Monoai, Nebraska will make you reconsider. This is the only place in the US with a single resident, an 89-year-old woman who is the mayor, librarian, and bartender of the entire town. Monoai is a name that not many people have heard of. Nestled quietly in the vast plains of Nebraska, Monoai today has only one resident, Mrs. Elsie Ilo, who has lived here for nearly 70 years. The entire town, with its quiet streets and uninhabited houses, was long abandoned when the local industries dwindled. However, instead of letting Monoai become a completely ghost town, Mrs. Elsie has kept it alive, even if it's just with herself. When you arrive in Monoai, you won't find the hustle and bustle of big cities, nor the noisy chatter. You will only meet Mrs. Elsie, the only person you will encounter in this town. She lives in a small house, tending to the garden by herself, running a small tavern for the rare travelers who pass through, and maintaining a tiny community library where people can borrow books for free. Strangers who visit Monoai may not know what to do except chat with her, or sit quietly among the deserted streets where time seems to have stopped long ago. So, is Monoai the choice for those who want to rediscover the precious things that are gradually fading away in a fast-paced modern society? Or is it a lonely journey that few dare to embark on? Can we, like Mrs. Elsie, stand firm in a rapidly changing world, when all we need to do is hold on to the past and slow down? On the edge of the San Luis Valley Desert, amidst the barren grasslands and the snow-capped Sangre de Cristo Mountains, there is a small town with fewer than 150 residents. No shopping malls, no McDonald's, no neon lights. But here there are more than 25 spiritual centers, from Tibetan Buddhism, Hinduism, Japanese Zen, to Christian chapels and indigenous burial mounds. Just hearing about it, you might wonder, how can such a small place gather all the world's faiths? But when you step into Creststone, that question quickly fades away, because you realize this is not just a town. This is a spiritual space, a place where weary souls come to shed the burdens of the modern world. In Creststone, people don't ask where you come from, what you do for a living, or how much money you have saved. The most frequently asked question is, what are you seeking in your soul? Some people seek peace, some want to understand themselves, some come to wait for death and wish for it to happen peacefully. And that very thing attracts those who have been hurt. They come here not to escape, but to confront, facing loneliness, emptiness, memories, and sometimes facing oneself. So, is Creststone a place for the lost? Or is it the only place that still retains a bit of humanity amidst a world that is becoming more chaotic and cold every day? Can we live a slow life without being seen as falling behind? Have you ever heard of towns where residents left hundreds of years ago, leaving behind bare wooden walls and silent memories in the dust? Garnet, Montana is one such place. But the special thing is not that it is a ghost town, but that there are still people living here, even if very few. And they do not live like ghosts, but like people who converse with the past every day. Hidden among the mountains of western Montana, Garnet was once a bustling gold mining center in the late 19th century. But then the gold ran out. Then came the fire. Then war. And so Garnet fell into silence. Within a few decades, it became a ghost town, literally. Broken windows, the abandoned pubs, a small church without bells, and the absolute silence among the pine forest. Garnet reminisces about an early America, wild, full of dreams, and also full of loss. The dreams of wealth may have faded, but those who remain do not need gold to feel valuable. They choose to live close to the land, close to the forest, close to memories, and far from the noise that we sometimes call progress. So, is Garnet a part of the past that refuses to die? Or is it the future for those who choose a lifestyle separate from modern society? Is this silence a form of resistance against the noise of the world? Or is it a reverberation of the values that once were the core of America? A place like Garnet does not promise comfort, but it quietly asks us, have you ever lived slowly enough to hear time breathe? When you think of Alaska, you might picture white snow, reindeer, or endless forests. But if you've ever traveled along the park's highway from Fairbanks, you might accidentally overlook a small town called Esther. Skip it. Not because it's forgettable, but because it's too quiet. Esther is a place where GPS maps sometimes cannot locate. A town that once boomed in the early 20th century when the gold rush reached the Arctic. Miners from all over flocked there, set up camps, dug the earth, and sought their fortune. But like all other gold towns, when the gold runs out, the people leave too. Only the forest, snow, and scattered wooden houses remain around the dirt roads. But that is precisely what makes Esther special. It attracts those who no longer want to live fast. Artist, writer, retiree. Those who once worked in major industries, mining, aviation, finance, come here to live a different version of themselves. What others consider sad, they call it tranquility. What others see as deprivation, they see as freedom. And while most of America is talking about growth, innovation, and connectivity, Esther seems to stand outside of all those races. It doesn't want to be rescued or developed. It just wants to exist, in its own way, quietly, profoundly, and without haste. So could it be that places like Esther serve as a reminder that not everyone needs to chase the times, that there are communities not seeking the spotlight, but only hoping for a porch to sit on, someone to talk to, and a winter to slow down? Do we, amidst all the digital connections we have, truly connect with ourselves as the people of Esther did? In the southern coastal region of the United States, where mangrove forests twist around brackish water channels, there is an island unlike any other. Not because it's remote, but because it seems to lie beyond even the mainstream history. Located in the low country of South Carolina, St. Helena Island is not just a place. It is a living memory, an untold heritage. This place is the heart of Gullah culture, a community of African Americans descended from West African slaves who were brought to work on cotton and rice plantations. When slavery ended, many of them stayed, and remarkably, they preserved their language, music, cuisine, beliefs, and especially their rare independence, right on the very land that once imprisoned their ancestors. One of the most sacred places on the island is Penn Center, the first school for black people in the South after the end of slavery. This was where Martin Luther King Jr. wrote the opening of the "I Have a Dream" speech. Today, Penn Center is no longer a school, but a heritage center where ancient Gullah folk songs still resonate and preserve memories that America often wants to forget. So how long can a place like St. Helena Island exist, when every inch of land can be appraised? Can a community that chooses to hold onto its soul instead of selling it win in a world where value is always measured by profit? There are places you cannot rush to, not because the road is difficult, but because the place itself does not accept haste. Ilo, a small island off the coast of Maine, is such a place. You can't drive here. There is no bridge, no highways. There is only one ferry trip each day, depending on the weather. When the sea is rough, the ferry stops, and the island is completely isolated from the mainland. And that is how the people here accept and preserve their isolation. Ilo was once home to fishermen, lumberjacks, and small farming families. Over time, many people left the island to find work on the mainland, to pursue convenience and opportunity. But some people stayed. They don't cling to it out of conservatism, but because they feel that only here can they truly live in the way they believe. Nowadays, only about 40 residents live on the island year-round. It seems that this place lacks all amenities. Life here revolves around cooperation. People share tools, food, and work. When a roof is damaged, the neighbors come over to fix it. When someone is ill, the whole community will take care of them. No one stands outside. Because on a small island like this, you can't remain a stranger for too long. But don't be mistaken. Living here is not romantic. Winter is long, the wind is strong, and the snow falls heavily. The supply of food, fuel, medicine is always a challenge. There are days when the people have to rely entirely on their reserves and hope for clear skies so that the ship can dock. The people here are not trying to escape. They are willing to trade comfort for a more meaningful life. We have just passed through places that seem to have been forgotten by the world. From an island without phone signal to a town with only one resident, from a desert where time seems to stand still to small villages living amidst nostalgia and challenges. Some people choose to live there because they have no other option. But there are also people who go there with all their initiative, to shed what is no longer necessary, to find true connection again, or simply to live a life where they don't have to chase after anyone. And the most unbelievable thing is not the remoteness of those places, but rather the fact that in this 21st century, amidst billions of connected devices, amidst countless things called conveniences, there are still people willing to live without the power grid, without Wi-Fi, without familiar chains of stores, just to attain tranquility, slowness, and sometimes it's to find oneself again. Do you think that, amidst an increasingly chaotic world, such places are outdated? Or are they the future we are quietly heading towards? Please share your thoughts in the comments section. And if this video makes you pause to reflect, please like, share, and subscribe to join us on our journey to look back at modern life in a slower, more genuine way. This video is made for the purpose of analysis, information sharing, and provoking thought. All the landmarks, figures, character quotes, and information in the video are compiled from reliable public sources at the time of creation, but do not encourage, promote, or oppose any lifestyle, individual, or organization.